Hi, my name is Antonis and I'm the painter of this video. Today I want to welcome you all on this study on painting with the Caravaggio technique, using one of his paintings as my reference, the painting of Saint John. So if you are interested in exploring his technique and learning more about chiaroscuro and the abrupt transition between light and shadow that is so typical, characteristic in Caravaggio's artworks, then stay with me in this video. I hope you are all well and creative. So let's start this almost hourly long video. So the first thing is I've drawn this, I've done my drawing and transferred this on my board. This is painted not on canvas but on wood board, and I've prepared this board with an acrylic gesso. And after this, as you see, I've painted the whole board with this brownish ochre-like color all over. This is a great way to block the absorbency of the gesso, and this way the oil will not be absorbed by the gesso and will retain its shininess, its bright colors, etc. So after I've prepared the board and painted this brown yellowish color that you see, I've transferred my drawing, and now I am already doing this underpainting. First I'm doing the shadows. This is very typical to the Caravaggio technique, doing this underpainting. So with very dark color, almost black, I will define these shadows, the folds of the clothes, the shadow parts of the flesh, etc. Now I'm using a very limited palette for this study. It's a pretty big painting. It's more than a meter in length, and for this I'm using a very limited palette, as I said, consisting of titanium white, some ivory black, a little bit of cadmium yellow, cadmium red. These are 4 colors, and also a little bit of sienna brown. This limited palette is very helpful, because I'm not confused, I'm not lost in unlimited variations of the color. And as I often say, it's for me it's most important to find the values, how dark and how bright some shapes of painting are, rather than exploring and finding the specific color that the master painter has used. Besides, we are using, when we do these studies, digital photographs, and we are not right next to the actual painting, so we don't know exactly the right hue, the right chroma of the painting that we study. It's an estimation of the colors that we use. So I use this limited palette, and which is very helpful. Of course, another thing that I want to say here at the beginning of this video is that I'm not claiming that this is exactly the technique of Caravaggio. This is my interpretation of what I see from his paintings, and my guessing and my trying to recreate these paintings. So I'm not interested in the specific colors that he might have used, like those old colors from the past that maybe they don't even exist today. And just to tell you that this is my interpretation, and not claiming that this is specifically the way Caravaggio painted. Besides, many master painters have used various techniques throughout their lives. So there you have it. So here what I'm doing is, after doing the shadow parts on this painting, of course following the drawing that I have transferred on my board, now I'm doing the light parts, the parts of the flesh and clothes that are lit by the source light. For this I'm using titanium white, plain titanium white. For the shadow parts, as I said, I've used some ivory black along with a little bit of sienna brown and a little bit of cadmium yellow, just to break the blackness of the shadows, just a little bit though. And here for the lights, I'm using just titanium white. Of course, this is oil. The shadows are. I've switched from the acrylic background to oil paintings, oil pigments, and I'm diluting these pigments with turpentine oil. And as you see, I'm searching the shapes of light as I see them on my reference photo. And I'm not very meticulous at this point. I'm not very, I'm a little bit sloppy at this point. Just trying to find these shapes. Now this is very, very helpful, and many students ask why do we have to paint everything in black and white before applying the flesh color, let's say. This is because we want to familiarize ourselves with the shapes of light and shadow before we actually proceed with painting, and also because these shapes, these light shapes here, for example, will guide me later on when I will apply the flesh color. Many master painters, of course, use directly actual flesh color at this step, like Velázquez, for example, and that's, it produces amazing results. There are many ways to approach painting, and this is something that you should remember. Painting is not just one way, of course, of painting when we do these kind of paintings. So the important is to be bold, to be, experimental, to have no fear when we paint. It's nice though to experiment and see if we'll get beautiful results with this or the other technique. Many people also say that colors, pigments back were expensive, and that's why many painters did their these first layers of painting with black and white, just to save some pigments. And yeah, I don't know if this is actually true, or if this way of doing a gray underpainting is financially helpful, but it's a theory as well. Now I'm doing this same thing on the face of Saint John, and it's very interesting, very nice, very satisfactory, because directly we see the volume of the head appearing with this white gray layer of painting. And you see that I'm not at all very meticulous. I'm just applying the color, trying to search the shapes of light. I'm using a brush that is relatively cheap. It's a synthetic brush here, and as you see now, I'm doing the same thing with on the area of the clothes. Now in this case, since the color of the clothes will be a bright red, I decided, I don't know if this is something that Caravaggio would do, but I've decided to do this underpainting not in white, completely white color, but breaking the white with some cadmium red to give it a little pinkish hue for this step of the underpainting. This is a nice way, really, and it does help because it really it helped me search for these areas of shadow and light, and it was a preparatory step, let's say, for the actual painting. Now I've begun painting these clothes, and you will find on my Patreon page a full tutorial on how I've painted the clothes. The thing here is that what I've done in briefly is that after this underpainting is dried, I've waited a couple of days, and now I'm starting by painting from the dark to the light. Like I will proceed with applying some painting the dark folds first, and then gradually I will I will prepare more bright colors on my palette and paint with these brighter colors gradually. It's best explained by the visuals rather than my talking. The important is to remember that when painting clothes or something very, naturalistic, the important is to not be in a hurry. We tend to believe that the old masterpieces were painted, very quickly, very, masterfully. But what I've learned from doing these studies is that the master painters have really proceeded cautiously. They took their time and they paid a lot of attention to the details, something that is really, really amazing. See here how I'm using this red color to right next to the dark folds that I've painted earlier, and I've blended this red color, and I'm interested first on blending the very dark folds with my first lighter color. Doing this blending, I don't care about anything else. I don't care what's happening on the shapes where the light will be brighter. But I'm just interested in doing the transition of light and shadow first, and doing this in a way that is convincing and interesting. Now I'm proceeding with painting a more bright color. Now the color underneath is not dry, and but although it's not dry, since I haven't painted on the center, as you see, and you can still see the underpainting, there is I can apply the color in a nice way. The color doesn't become very muddy. Oil is a very challenging medium. It requires some experience. It requires to know where to stop, or to have some experience on how the material behaves, how the oil pigment behaves, to know when to stop and to know what will happen according to what has proceeded. So here I'm doing this brighter application of this color. I know that the color will stay in a nice way without becoming muddy in some way. Those of you who are familiar with oil painting know what I'm talking about. Those who are not, who aren't, those of you who aren't very familiar, oil is not a medium to be afraid to paint with. It's really, really exciting. the options you have are really unlimited, and we have seen so many variations on the forms that oil paintings can take that is truly amazing. For this color I'm using some cadmium red along with some cadmium yellow and a little bit of just a little bit of titanium white and maybe some of the shadowy, more grayish color of the darks. See how nicely this brighter coat of painting blends with the underneath still wet red. And you get an idea of how I'm doing these clothes. You will be able to find more on my Patreon page about clothes. Now I'm starting with the actual painting of the flesh, and what I'm doing is I'm like in the clothes, I will start from the shadowy areas, from the areas that are in the shadow, and with a color that is this brown greenish, let's say, dark color. I will paint loosely these shapes of shadow. It's a color that is relatively thin, as you see, it's not very thick. And I will search here for those shapes of shadow. I see that Caravaggio's shadow areas can become very, very dark. There are some areas where the light meets the shadow that become even darker. This is very typical and very characteristic, and this is how light behaves. So Caravaggio, on those very dark areas between light and shadow, I suspect that he can use almost completely black, very dark. As you see here on the knee, the color that I'm using is almost black. It's not completely black because I want to use even some darker brush strokes, brush strokes on these areas to intensify this transition between light and shadow. So I will keep my darkest black for to paint some brush strokes and intensify this effect. So with a brush that is that behaves, that is the word. I'm doing these areas of these areas of shadow. The important thing is your tools to behave, and this was a major lesson here for me, learning to understand my tools better and feel that they really do the job as I want them to do. Now, again, like in the clothes, I will proceed with painting a layer of brighter color. This is, a grayish, greenish, ochre-like color that I will place it on top of my underpainting, and as you see, and I'm interested in again blending this brighter color with the dark shadows that I have previously painted. I don't care what's happening in the middle of those shapes of light, really. I'm just interested in seeing that there is some nice, convincing, beautiful blending between between this lighter color and the shadows. The brush here is a synthetic brush. I've realized in oil painting that brushes can do fantastically a job, even if they are old, they are worn out. It depends on their hair. It has to be the right softness. It shouldn't be too hard, it shouldn't be too soft. When we paint in tempera, we really we want the brush to be pointy, to be soft, to have some bristle, let's say. But here in oil painting, it's really a matter of searching, wondering ourselves which kind of brush from our tool, brush box would do the job. For most of this painting, I've used flat brushes that were soft enough. They were not very hard. They were synthetic and soft, not extremely soft, of course, like the ones we've used for tempera or watercolor, but I would say those that we use with when painting with acrylics will do the job nicely. Also, it's important to guess what size of brush would be helpful, and would command you while you are painting. Here again, I'm interested, as I say, to the blending. I'm not that much interested in the actual color that I see on the photograph as my reference. I imagine that these flesh areas are not it's a more fleshy color. So as you see here now, I'm warming my flesh tones with a color that consists more of warmer colors like cadmium yellow and cadmium red a little bit. This is a more warm color, and as you see, I go brighter on my painting, and of course I will proceed with doing these blendings between the light and the shadow. I hope this video is helpful, and it will inspire you to try this technique, to to be more in your studio and be more creative. And of course, my intention when I'm doing these studies is to really get accustomed to good painting, my eye to be accustomed in great painting like the painting of Caravaggio, and also to learn all these, my muscle memory, to learn these techniques and apply them later on works that are more personal, more creative, and original, let's say. Of course, these studies really feel very creative, although it's just, you can say it's just, rendering something of somebody else. But they do feel very, very nice. They feel creative. And I definitely would suggest you playing a little bit with doing something like this. It's really nice, without fear, without stress, just doing a copy, doing a drawing, I mean. And for my drawing, I'm using the grid method. I will print the painting that I want to study, and then using the grid method, I will draw on a large paper the size of the drawing that I want. I have a video on how to use the grid method here on my channel if you are interested in that. Some people say that why don't we just print the image and transfer this directly. For me, it's nice to do the drawing myself, because it really is more practice. The important thing is to practice our skills, and this is a nice shot of Venice. I really liked this shot, and just to show you how I'm doing these highlights. Most of this painting so far is a matter of intuition, I would say. So there's not much to say. Well, it's just a matter of observing the reference deeply, and coordinating what you know, your experience, with your instincts, and see what kind of results you can get. The highlights are very, very nice, and they are indicative of the material they are placed on. A highlight on a skin should be painted differently, let's say, than a highlight on a glass, on a piece of glass, a bottle, a vase, or something like that. So when you paint these highlights, you have to really understand the material that you are painting, and observe how light behaves when it falls on each individually material. So now I'm proceeding with painting the flesh area here on the arm, and the belly of Saint John. So again, I'm doing the same thing. I will proceed with painting the shadows again, like refreshing the shadows with a new layer of wet color, and then proceed with painting using a color that I will assume it's gonna be the in-between color, like the one you see here, and then I will do this blending between this light color now and the freshly painted shadows that are still wet and can be blended. Now, of course, the underneath white layer that you see, it's dry. I've waited for a couple of days, and this underneath painting is completely dry. The shadows, though, that you see here, the greenish dark shadows that you see here, are wet, because, as I said, I've refreshed them before painting the light here now. I hope this makes sense. Thank you all for your beautiful, nice comments. Your contribution, let's say, to my previous videos, my videos on my channel, is amazing. Thank you so much for those beautiful comments on the sfumato technique that I've explored in the previous videos. I'm always, maybe there's no much time to answer to you all, but definitely I read all of your comments, and I am humbled sometimes by your responses to these videos. Really, thank you so much. I'm so glad when these videos inspire you to be more in your studio, and when these videos get you to find your creativity again. Sometimes many people tell me that it has been years since they explored their painting skills, and now, with the help of these videos, they are back in the studio. So for me, this is really something that gives me joy, and thank you so much for sharing this with me. It gives me more energy to produce more and better videos for you. Of course, with your support, your financial support on Patreon, I am able to be more in my studio and to produce these videos. And I want to really thank my Patreon supporters there for their amazing help. The least I can do is upload some, more extensive videos, more exclusive videos on some techniques. You can definitely find those on my Patreon, and I'm doing those live streams there where we get to meet face to face, we get to discuss artistic issues, and it's really wonderful to see my supporters there in person. Here I'm gradually proceeding with lighter areas of color, and now I'm painting a little bit the belly of Saint John. I'm proceeding cautiously, as you see. I'm applying the color and then manipulating the color, moving the color around, doing these nice transitions. Oil painting, oil colors are amazing in doing these blendings, but these blendings have to be done in a way that is I can't find really any other word, and I'm using this word, that they have to be convincing. They shouldn't leave little traits of color left by the edge of the brush. So make sure that you are not leaving any, as we're applying the color with the brush stroke can be stronger on the edge of the brush, and this is something that we don't want when we're doing these transitions. So make sure that you apply the brush stroke a little bit to the inside part of the area that you want to blend, and then use a brush that is the same brush that contains fewer color, and do the blending better. I wipe my brush on a piece of cloth, and that's why I can control the amount of pigment that my brush contains. And I also like, sometimes I want brushes that their hair is contained, their hairs are contained, and sometimes I really enjoy brushes that are old and worn out, and their hairs are open. They can create beautiful transitions, really nice. Here on the hands, on my reference photo, they were much warmer than the area of the arms and the chest, so I really wanted to keep this warmness of the color. And I'm doing these highlights now with colors that are more relative to the bright colors of the arms and the belly, just to give it some resemblance. Now, as you see, I'm proceeding with painting the face of Saint John, and I'm doing the same thing. I will start with painting the shadows. I noticed that there are some reflection light, dark reflective light on into the shadowy part of his face, so I want to make sure that I keep this reflectory light that will give me so much on the volume of his head, will help paint the volume, the three-dimensional illusion of his head. And I'm applying some brush strokes on the areas like below the nose and around the nose, around the mouth, those areas that are in the shadow, just because I want to refresh these these areas. And when I will apply the color of light in a little bit, to have some wet shadow areas to blend with. Now I'm proceeding with creating on my palette a color that is a little bit brighter, a color that consists of some titanium white, a little bit of cadmium yellow, a little bit of black, a little bit of cadmium red, and all these, of course, from intuition and experience. I don't really know what exactly colors Caravaggio used, but I'm using this slightly darker, lighter color in order to make this first blending between the area of the light and the shadow. I'm only interested here, as earlier, in doing this first blending. I don't care if it looks horrible, if it looks, bad at this point. I just want to make the meeting of light and shadow convincing and nice and, working for me. Here I'm using a relatively large brush for such small shapes of light and shadow, and sometimes this can be helpful because it can quickly and nicely do these transitions. But as you notice, my brush is not filled with color, is not, loaded with color. It has some color, and I also wipe the excess color on a piece of cloth. Also notice how this brush has its hairs a little bit, open. And now it's a matter of, going back and forth, applying some more warm, fleshy color on the face, along with some darker, more, cold colors on the areas of the shadows, applying those and then doing the blending. I really had an issue here while I was painting face with my brushes. I really couldn't find brushes that would help me, that would do what I wanted. So I'm keeping experimenting with those brushes, trying to see what would work better, what would not. I have a pretty large collection of brushes. I really like buying brushes, although they can be expensive, some of those. But although I was searching and searching on my toolbox to find a brush that would help me paint these smaller shapes of light with oil, I just couldn't find something that would work exactly as I wanted this to work. I'm saying this because those of you who are, who are struggling with painting, as all of us do, you have to realize that a big part of painting is really the tools, our struggle with finding the right tool. It's part of the painting process, and it's something that the old masters really wasn't solved from the beginning with them. They had to really see what works for them and what doesn't work. So it's a matter of questioning ourselves if this works, if this doesn't work, etc. Now with this application of the warmer color, you see that already the face becomes more fleshy, more realistic, naturalistic, let's say. And to me, as I'm, getting experience in painting these studies, to me, real painting is something like this. I mean, in comparison to, photorealism, where we have to paint everything in like, you have to see the pores of the skin and every little tiny hair. This kind of painting is so mastered because with some brush strokes the painter will give the illusion of what's happening, of the adventures of light and shadow on an object or on a body, and this is really wonderful. I really lately am kind of disappointed by the photorealistic painting because I can't find the point of it. But anyway, this is a matter of for another video maybe. And of course, we as painters, it's important to have our eyes open to other fields of painting. I definitely enjoy contemporary painting, the modern painting of the past. Also, as I say, what's happening today, I have my eyes and mind open in finding values in these paintings. They can be very, very strong. They can be very, they can evoke emotions that are truly amazing. So I've done some basic blending between the shadows on the face and the light. I feel it looks nice, and now I'm proceeding with painting some highlights. Now it's a matter of going back and forth, and our own satisfaction, our own feeling that the portrait, the face is finished. It's really, I would say, it's a complicated process, but at the same time, since the oil as material is very easy it's easy to manipulate and to create these blendings. It's also a pretty easy way. It has some easiness in comparison, of course, to painting the same thing with tempera or with acrylics that dry much quicker. Here, of course, we get to paint something that we definitely wouldn't have a similar effect if we painted with a water-soluble medium like egg tempera or acrylic. Oil only can give us these amazing qualities, I would say. Well, with acrylic, we might achieve some similar effects. Of course, acrylic is a medium that we can do so many things with it. But definitely, we couldn't achieve such results with egg tempera or gouache, or definitely not with watercolor. I really like another thing I want to comment here is really while I'm doing these studies, I get to enjoy the mastery of those old painters, how great they were. I get to admire their how they paint every little detail with the same attention as the face or the eyes. They really are amazing, and to think somebody that they painted those in periods of time in history where their means were very limited, it's something really, really amazing. Caravaggio had a very turbulent life. and still, although he had this kind of life, he still it still seems that his love for painting was something amazing. These works can only be done with love for the medium, respect for the medium, and you know. It's unbelievable how those painters paid attention to the same attention everything, and this is a great lesson for us to learn. Now you see that I'm blending the highlights that I previously painted, and yeah. Going back and forth until it feels, that the painting, the face has some painterly quality, that it looks nice. See that I don't go all over the place here. I don't paint much on the edges on the edge of the light shapes, but I contain myself mostly towards the strongest shapes of light. And of course, something to think is that it's important to know when a painting is done, when to stop a painting. This is something very tricky because sometimes when we push for something more and more on a painting, we get great results, and it's nice to push for something more. This pushing into unfamiliar zones of painting will give us experience and make us better as painters. Sometimes when we do that, we have to know that painting with risk might lead to something bad. We might, instead of improving a painting, we might, destroy, let's say, the painting. So, but we have to be willing to take this risk. When I paint, I try to not admire my painting, to not say, oh, this is the masterpiece of the century or whatever. I try to learn something out of this, and this helps me getting risks, pushing for something better, and without the fear of destroying the painting. Even if a painting is destroyed, we have learned so much by the process of the painting. So really push for something more if you feel like, if you're not satisfied, but also when your instinct says so, call it an end, call it a day, and just be done with the painting. Sometimes it's good to leave a painting to rest for some period of time and then revisit the painting, or sometimes it's you can just let it rest and call it finished, and move forward to something else. And something else that I've noticed is that, for me, it's struggling with brushes and choosing the right brush here on the area of the face, especially. It was not something very satisfying. It was a struggle to find the right brush and to see how I will make things work. So I've lost my thoughts here. I was saying that it's a struggle, but this struggle and the fear of getting back into the easel, it's something that all painters struggle with, and we have to understand that the more we postpone something, we'll get no results. Attack this desire for to postpone your painting, to to not go in your studio. Many painters struggle with this, and for me, as soon as I sit before my easel, the all these fears disappear. The process itself gives me, courage and satisfaction. So, yeah, the difficult part is to really get ourselves to to go and sit on before the easel. I really like this little light on his eyelashes. You see how Caravaggio really paid, he placed this tiny light there, and with this light he gave so much expression on the face of Saint John. It's really wonderful, and it tells me so much about the beauty of his soul. Maybe, I don't know, but definitely all those painters were searching for beauty, and this can only reflect their search for spiritual beauty, for something nice for their own life and for the world. So the face is almost it's painted. I'm feeling very satisfied with this, and now I'm doing some work on the hair. For the hair, I'm painting again more instinctively. I have all my little puddles of color, like 3 or 4 color puddles on my palette, and I'm moving back and forth. Like I'm having this very dark, almost black color for the shadows on the hair. I have a little red brownish color that I use it as a base, whereupon the darks and the lights will come and stay. And also I have 2 variations of yellow ochre color for these highlights that I'm doing. I'm just observing my reference photo here and trying to paint the hair as best as I see them. The important here on the hair and generally when we paint is to really observe the shadows, to really see how strong some shadows are, and to not be afraid to paint those shadows. See, for example, on the lower part of his chin, like the neck, how dark things can be there. And this is because strong shadows can truly reveal the light. This is important. Many, and I often say this on my videos, many student painters are afraid to go dark for some reason, or they believe that only strong lights, only light shapes will give them the result they want. In fact, it's the opposite idea. The stronger shadows the shadows are, the more bright the lights will shine. So keep observing your subject, even if it is from life or not, and really do these comparisons about the shadows, how dark these shadows are, and in comparison, of course, to the light. Hi, so on patreon.com you can find my full tutorial along with so many others about the sfumato technique, the way I've painted this study on Salvator Mundi, and this is an in detail lesson on the brushes, the colors that I've used, the way of handling the color and the brushes, and I hope you will find this very informative and useful for you. Thank you so much. So little by little, this study comes to its completion. I really like the final result. It's convincing. I've learned so many things by doing this, and not only just about the transitions of light and shadow, but I've gained experience on how oil behaves, on how my brush behave, etc. If you like this video, you can of course subscribe to this channel and share this video with people that might be interested. For more information and more detailed lessons, you can find me on my Patreon page. You can just go and check what's going on there. I would like to thank you so much for being here, for staying with me. I hope this was helpful to you and that you learned something or you got some inspiration to try this yourselves. Stay healthy, be creative, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye.